discussing and previewing arguably the biggest fight of the decade so far, where the world's pound-for-pound best boxer, Floyd Money Mayweather, takes on the pretender to his throne, Saul Canelo Alvarez, in a 154-pound unification matchup. Clive, it's a fight that a lot of people said Floyd wouldn't take. He's into his second fight with a 6-fight Showtime deal, and a lot of people thought, why take Alvarez now? But he's taken the fight. Why do you think this has happened?
Well, I think he needs to take the fight. He needs to take the fight because he wants the fight, the fans want the fight, the TV want the fight. His last fight, his last bout actually, it didn't gross too many buys. So I think this against somebody like Alvarez, who is a Mexican icon now, he's coming up. He's won every single fight so far. So this fight makes sense for everybody, you know. This is a big, big fight.
Clive, let's talk about Floyd Mayweather's strengths and weaknesses going into this bout with Alvarez.
Well, his strengths are he's mobile, he's got the experience, he's a great counter puncher. He hasn't got too many weaknesses, which is why he's the pound-for-pound number one in the world.
A lot of people have said that he started to slow down in a few of his last fights. Against Cotto, he maybe stood and traded more than we've seen him do so in the past, and against Guerrero, people were saying that the legs looked that little bit slower. Now, Floyd's counter to that is that he wanted to make his fights a bit more exciting for the fans. Do you believe that line, or do you think age is finally catching up with him?
I think it's a bit of both, but I don't think any fighter wants to go in there and wants to get hit. So against Cotto, yes, he did take a few too many punches, but you know what? I think he wanted to prove to himself he could tough it out. I think he wanted to prove to everybody, the fans and everybody, that he could actually fight as well, you know. And I think he proved that as well. But at the same time, there were chinks in his armour there, and he was starting to slow down a bit, whether he admits it or not. You know, at the age of 36.
It's only natural that age will catch up with you at some stage, but it's not like a Roy Jones type fighter where he relied on his reflexes. Floyd's got very much a tighter defence, and he works his defence rather than just relying on athleticism.
Oh, that's exactly right. He does. I mean, Floyd has always kept himself supremely fit. He eats well, he lives well. Just despite what happens in the nightclubs and wherever he goes, he lives well. He trains very, very hard. And he knows exactly what, he even picks the right opponents at the right time. So he knows exactly what he's doing, which is why he's the pound-for-pound best.
And outside of that sort of flamboyant lifestyle, he's been known to be, like you say, a gym rat, in shape all year round, but also spars the very, very top guys. I think when he was sparring for Ricky Hatton's fight, he was sparring Lovemore and who was a world champion at the time. So it goes to show how seriously he takes his opponents.
Yeah, he's always on top of his game. As I say, he studies everybody. He studies all his opponents. He's probably got his opponents lined up 2 or 3 fights in advance, you know, which is maybe why he took the Cotto fight and knew he needed to tough it out, knowing full well a year later he's going to be boxing someone like Alvarez.
There's a great moment in that Cotto fight when he was cut on his nose, which is something quite rare for Floyd to have a cut in a fight, and his nose was bleeding, and he looks up at the big screen and he just sort of chuckles, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I say. I think you know what, he looked at the camera and he thought, I've proved I can fight, and I'll carry on fighting.
So for this fight against Alvarez, what are the keys to victory for Floyd Mayweather? What does he have to do to make sure he comes out with a W?
Like I say, he needs to keep on the move. He needs to stay on the move, which is what he always does. And what he's got to do is he's got to counter punch like he does. That means by bringing Alvarez in, let him come in towards you, counter punch him. What Floyd does all the time is he brings fighters onto the ropes, he ducks and dives, and then he unleashes his counter punches, ties them up and moves off. What he's got to do is make sure he gets out of there very quickly. Because against a young fighter like Alvarez, who can punch, he's got to make sure he's on top of his game. And if he is slowing down in any way, shape or form, then in the later rounds, he could come unstuck. So he's going to have to be, and I think he knows this, he needs to be on top of his game for this fight from the 1st round to the 12th round.
Now let's turn our attention to Saul Alvarez. Let's have a look at what his key weaknesses and strengths are going into this fight.
Well, his strengths is obviously his youth. 23 years old. He's a world champion. He's been a pro since he was 16 years old. So, but he's had 43 fights, you know, as opposed to Floyd's 44.
And for such a young guy, that's sort of unheard of, really.
So he's learnt his trade coming up, and he's become a world champion. So he may well think he's ready to fight Floyd now at the age of 23.
There may be some question marks about the level of opposition there. Clive, I just want to ask you a question about Golden Boy and their involvement in this fight, because obviously they've worked very closely with Floyd for the last few years since Floyd left Top Rank, and they've been building up Alvarez in the same time as well, and he's their next big superstar. What happens if Floyd beats their next big superstar? Are they at a loss then, or is it...?
Well, no, they're not, because I believe that Golden Boy win both ways, because they've been working with Floyd for a long time now, because they've been working with him actually since, I believe, Oscar fought Floyd back in 2007. So no matter who wins, I see Golden Boy winning both ways.
For Alvarez to win this fight and to beat the seemingly unbeatable Floyd Mayweather, what does he have to do, Clive?
I think he has to make Floyd work for 12 rounds. He has to walk him down, which also could be to his cost, because he needs to walk him down because he needs to get his shots off. But at the same time, Floyd is a great counter-puncher. So he needs to be careful there as well. Maybe he's got to take a few shots to get Floyd where he wants to be and unleash a few shots. Maybe go to the body, concentrate on the body shots to slow Floyd down. But maybe Floyd's a bit too cute for that, you know? So it's an interesting one, but I think Alvarez has to do that. He has to walk Floyd down, and he has to make Floyd fight. He can't allow Floyd just to tee off on him. Otherwise, he's going to, before he knows it, he's 5 or 6 rounds down.
Clive, do you think the fact that this fight is at a catch weight is an advantage, a massive advantage to Floyd?
Well, no, because it's made at 152. The thing is, three weeks ago, 6 weeks before the fight, Floyd weighed in, I think, 150 pounds anyway.
And that's probably fully
walks
clothed.
around,
yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
150 pounds. So he's at his maximum strength anyway. He's a great athlete, he's at his maximum strength. Whereas Alvarez weighed in at 166 pounds. Now he's got 6 weeks to take that off to get down to 152. Now, you could argue that that works against him, because when he comes to the weigh-in, he's going to have to weigh 152 pounds. But 24 hours later, when he gets in that ring, he will be 160 plus, whereas Floyd will still be 150. So he could even be 14 pounds heavier on fight night.
It's amazing to think Alvarez used to make welterweight when he's walking. You know, he's
well,
sort of walking around in the 170s or maybe even higher.
You know, he's a big man. You know, so that's another reason it could work for him. It could work against him. It depends how well he puts on the weight back on 24 hours before the fight. Only he's going to know that.
So there you go, that wraps up our Mayweather versus Alvarez preview. Don't forget to watch the fight September 14th from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. 2 great fighters going at it. Who wins, nobody knows, but it's going to be a great event, that's for sure. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/Secondsout. Share this video, like this video, and comment on this video. And coming up next, we're going to be previewing domestically one of the biggest fights in years. It's David Haye versus Tyson Fury. And now we're going to be previewing the biggest domestic heavyweight clash since Frank Bruno took on Lennox Lewis all those years ago in Cardiff. That's right, David the Haymaker Haye is going to be facing the young pretender Tyson Fury in a domestic heavyweight fight that's got a lot of people talking. Clive, everyone was saying that David wasn't going to take this fight. Then after dialogue on Twitter, the fight suddenly seems to be on. Why has David gone down to take this fight when he said he only wanted heavyweight titles?
Well, it's the only fight that makes sense from a financial point of view for both fighters. So it's a fight that the British public want. Basically, it's a fight between 2 massively hyped fighters. They both like to talk. And to be quite honest, on their day, they both like to fight. But this is the only fight that makes financial sense for both of them. If David Haye wins, that puts him on another ladder to go for the heavyweight championship of the world. And same as Tyson Fury. But this is a fight that I think has to happen. It doesn't make sense for it not to happen. And thank God the powers that be said, let's make this happen. And it is happening. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Tyson Fury just fought Steve Cunningham in his last fight, and that was an eliminator for the IBF title.
That's
against
right.
Pulev. Pulev's now fighting Tony Thompson, I believe, for that mandatory position. But why for Tyson? Why sacrifice a shot at one of the Klitschko's, which would be an equally big payday, to take on someone like David Haye?
Well, for David Haye, he's arguably, they're talking about £5 million each or whatever it is. Now, for someone, if he boxed Pulev, he's not going to earn anywhere near that. And you could say that Pulev is a dangerous fight. It's a more dangerous fight.
And what about Manuel Charr? There was a fight there that David was supposed to be fighting Manuel Charr, and then suddenly he had a hand injury. And both Manuel and the hand injury have just gone completely quiet.
Well, obviously David got injured there. I do believe that Manuel Charr is on the undercard. So maybe he figures in the future for the winner of Tyson against Haye.
Clive, let's talk about David's strengths and weaknesses going into this fight.
Well, we know David's got the experience there. We know he can punch as well. So he's got the big fight experience. Obviously, he's been to Germany twice to fight Klitschko. He's fought Valuev over there. He's been to Paris to fight Mormek. So we know he's not afraid to go into anyone else's backyard. So and of course we also know he can punch as well, which was proved against Valuev in the last round, the 12th and final round. If he hits Tyson Fury the same way that he hit Valuev in that last round, then Tyson Fury's going down. Tyson
and his camp have mentioned sort of question marks around David's stamina and also around his chin. He was dropped by Lalenga Mock. He was stopped by Carl Thompson. He's been wobbled in the past. Do you think those sort of statements are still valid, or do you think he's grown out of that as he's gone into heavyweight?
No, I think they're still there, the same as they are with Tyson Fury, which makes this fight exciting. They're both vulnerable, which makes it exciting. But hopefully, they're both going to engage. We're going to see an exciting fight.
And what do you think of David's performances at heavyweight? He was a great cruiserweight. He unified the title down there. But what do you think of the guys he's fought and how he's performed up at heavyweight?
Well, again, he's been very vulnerable against Monty Barrett when he made his heavyweight debut. He was the same against Derek Chisora in his last fight. He hasn't performed well, interestingly, against the very big men like Valuev, Klitschko. That sort of worries me because, again, Tyson Fury, 6'9", is it going to be the same again?
And what about Tyson Fury? Is he ready for a fight of this magnitude? He's not been on this world stage before and he's not had the big pay-per-view hurrah around him and stuff. Is he ready for this fight, and what do you think his strengths and weaknesses are going into against David Haye?
Well, I think we're going to find out. He's certainly got the confidence. You know, I think he really believes that he's going to win this fight. There's no two ways about it, no question about it. He believes he's going to win. His strengths are his size, obviously his reach, his weight. You know, if he can maximise all of that, then I think he's got a very, very good chance. But he needs to keep his composure. He needs to work his jab. That's the thing. For me, for someone with such a long reach, he never uses the jab to its full advantage. So if he can do that, keep his composure, and he's also got to jump all over David as well.
Use his weight.
Yeah, he's got to use his weight. He's got to lean on him. He's got to make sure that he's got to force David to fight. You know.
And that's essentially what he did against Steve Cunningham. We hear recently that Cunningham's out there in Belgium sparring with Tyson at the moment, and David's now sparring the likes of Dimitrenko, former European champion, and Richard Towers, even from the UK. It's quite awkward, I guess. Do you read much into sparring before a fight, or do you just think that sparring and the fight will be?
Well, sparring is sparring, obviously, but they've got these opponents there for a reason. They've got them there for their various strengths. So obviously Richard Towers, he's very, very tall, and you've got Dimitrenko, who he's obviously not so big. He's pretty much the same as David in a lot of ways. So the thing with sparring is, you know, you're not there to beat each other up. You're not there to punch holes in each other. You're there to learn. You learn. You have to. You know, you've got certain techniques, certain things that you want to work on. So obviously that's why he's got certain different. He's got certain people there for certain tasks.
So we've heard it already, it's either Hay early or Tyson late in many people's eyes, but how do you see it going?
I think that's right. I think that's right. You know, I just can't help seeing David Hay throwing the big right hand straight through the middle of Tyson Fury's guard. You know, it happened in his last fight, and if it happens this time, it all depends really on how Tyson Fury reacts. If David puts him down, don't forget that David is one of the best finishers in the business. So if David puts him down, I have no doubt whatsoever that David will take a step back with his experience and he will slowly try and take Tyson Fury out. That's how I see it, you know. But on the other side of the coin, if Tyson can weather the storm, get up, gets past 6 or 7 rounds, David tires a little bit, Tyson Fury gets on top. You know, and then Tyson Fury gets the advantage. But my gut feeling is, I think David's experience will be too much on the night.
So that wraps up our preview to David Hay versus Tyson Fury. Thanks very much to Clive for breaking the fight down for us. And be sure not to miss that. There's going to be fireworks, I'm sure, between Hay and Fury. And thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/secondsout. Share, like and comment on the videos, and we'll see you next time.